I'm going to be introducing a couple of our lovely people we've got here tonight, right? Because first of all, I want to introduce our speaker, our main speaker, Adelina Peltea. She's the VP of Growth. Basically, she's been over 12 years of experience in SaaS companies. And before this, she had a spell at Typeform, and she's been always in the field, always related to SaaS, sales, growth marketing, and that's what she's spearheading right now at Hold It. She will be telling us what she's doing at Hold It. If I'm not mistaken, are you originally from Romania?
Exactly.
Great. So bună seara. And we've got also a co-host tonight, our Nasia Kudaibergen from our team at Typeform Barcelona, but she also works at Typeform. That's where they coincided, and she's our marketing expert. Yeah, I connected the dots right now. It's like, oh no, right? Nasia is part of our team at Typeform Barcelona. She's been volunteering for us for over 2 years now. So thank you very much, both of you, for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing this. I think it's an interesting topic, and probably lots of marketers out there are wondering, so what do we do now? What's changing? So yeah, it'll be an interesting chat.
Before we go into, so Nasia will help me here with the marketing, with the nerdy part of marketing, right? I'm not a marketer, but before moving into that section, I wanted to start off by asking if you got any sort of quick tips for people who've never done remote, and how has this changed your life, or how do you organize yourself when you're working remotely?
I wouldn't call this the normal working remotely or work from home. I think there are different psychology elements at play, because it's not like you work remotely and then in the evening you go meet your friends. So it's a bit different. But yeah, hey, like I guess everyone is used to Zoom. And what I notice is that people have less small talk and real talk now. Like I've been talking more to people than ever before, although it's online. Everyone gets more real in the conversation, so that's really great. That's with colleagues, that's with friends, that's with everyone. And I'm also noticing that more people have time to consume content. So just like our attendees here tonight.
Yeah, sure. And another thing that really, I've been reading in the news, and I wanted to maybe break the ice with this, is that there's a lot of studies about the usage of SaaS platforms, right? Because a lot of companies are kind of cutting down on costs, and they're one of the first things they cut down on as SaaS, or software that maybe they use, but maybe they don't use that often. That's not critical, so they can like offload that. But there are other studies that prove that actually companies are using more SaaS. So maybe it's about companies who were not doing remote. Now they're hiring, you know, they're buying Zoom, they're buying Slack, they're buying Basecamp, they're buying all these tools to compensate. I don't know if you've got any views or what's the changes to your tool set that you've adopted at Hold It in the last weeks?
At Hold It, I can't say we really changed the tech stack. Probably are using a bit more intensely some of the tools, and it's much appreciated they exist in the first place. But we are a SaaS tool ourselves, and what I can say we notice is that we have a broader audience now. So there are people that you know, that were with cloud platforms for a while, and now we have customers that are in the past few years were migrating to the cloud as well. But what's happening now, even more so with the Corona times, is that now everyone needs it, no matter how tech savvy you are, no matter the age, no matter anything. So if anything, this is a very good time for SaaS.
And how about the other thing I wanted to ask here is how about in terms of communication, right? Because I assume that, I don't know if Hold It was a remote friendly company or not at the beginning, and so how has that affected your management to your people, right?
It's actually interesting because we were not remote. I remember, when was it, a few months ago, we had that super big storm here in Barcelona. Yeah. And still people were coming to the office, like nothing stopped us, you know. And now we literally had like a trial day of being remote, just 2 days before the news of like, you have to stay home. But yeah, there was no time to prepare for this. So we're kind of like just started doing so. So of course, as a company, if you haven't practiced this before, It takes a while to adjust. It takes a few days. It's not easy, but people are resilient and we adapt.
Exactly. Well, how about you? Before I give away to Nasia to speak about and to lead the marketing conversation part. How about you tell us what Hold It does? Because a lot of people in the audience maybe they're not familiar with your company. We might want to pitch it for a while.
Sure. So Hold It is a SaaS. Surprise, surprise. We said this before. It's a tool for SMBs to manage their full business. It's what ERPs used to be for the enterprise world, but now it's for the SMB worlds with all the implications. So great UX, good prices. You can do everything from your financial side of the business, like invoicing and accounting, all the way to manage your projects, manage your contacts in a CRM, manage your employees, and so on. We are a Series A startup based in Barcelona. We have fantastic growth so far. Like we've been spotted by our Series A investor actually spotted us and came to us because we are like one of the fastest growing startups around here. And yeah, here we are. Let's see what 2020 is bringing.
Exactly. So Nasia, it's all yours.
All right. Well, from my side also, once again, thanks for joining us, Adelina, and thanks for everybody who's tuning in. Happy to see so many attendees. I'm going to start with from a more general perspective first, because we already mentioned a lot of companies are affected by coronavirus and the crisis, right? Us, like we SaaS companies, we are more lucky to not be as badly affected as travel, retail, and e-commerce verticals. But still, from some SaaS companies, you hear that they do see some impact in new business metrics, in churn rate. Do you guys at Hold It feel the effects, and where do you see it most noticeable?
Yes, we do. So because we sell our solution to SMBs, of course, the SMBs are the pulse of the economy nowadays. But it's more of a numbers game, right? So we are spread across all industries, and the SMBs are of different sizes. So we actually looked at data, and I won't spoil this because there will be some PR play soon, but we looked at how the SMBs were affected actually before and after. And there is a bit of a slowdown, I would say, but we are still growing. Which, as you said, we are in a fortunate place to be compared to other industries. The slowdown does come on all metrics, though. So it's about top of the funnel, it's about churns, it's about reactivations, expansion, and so on. So it's across the board. But at the same time, as I said, it's also a lot of opportunities, and we are trying to be very open and innovative on how we approach this. And I'll give some examples throughout the chat.
Yeah, nice. Sounds good. Well, and based on those changes, you saw like the first impact in your metrics. What were the first actions that you took?
I guess like everyone, go back to your financials. So I would split this chat into 3 parts. One is like actions that we took right away. Maybe that's useful for some people to just act right away as well. Things that we're planning and how we're seeing 2020 and beyond. And again, like how more like the mindset behind like how we are approaching, not necessarily what we are doing. And the third, and I will actually start from this one, it's the mindset. I'm VP of growth, and you know, being someone that leads growth in such year, it's a challenge. But this doesn't mean that it doesn't grow. And if we have marketers in the audience, I'm sure you're wondering as well, how am I going to deal with this? You know, budgets are probably cut and top line revenue is probably dropping and so on. So how are you going to navigate these waters? And basically, I was also thinking that maybe for most of the marketers out there, like we are in our 20s, 30s, it's probably the first crisis that we're encountering. So it's not something most people are used to navigate this. It's my second crisis since I've been in professional work environments. The first one happened when I was in a marketing research agency. And actually that was another lucky field as well, because in a crisis, people are taking less risk. So before they were doing any advertising campaigns or launching new products, they would actually do more research during those times. So that was also very interesting.
What year was that first crisis in?
2008.
Okay.
And yeah, so basically the mindset has to change. So forget about your success being defined as top line revenue growth or the amount of budgets you're handling. It's not about that, but the best marketers will probably be born professionally this year, in the sense that those that will succeed throughout this year, those that will make the best of what's happening now, those will be the stars, and those will be like the most wanted people in every company. We have to change this mindset to doing things more efficiently. So it's not growth at all costs. It's like thinking more about the full user journey. What can you do? How can you improve things? If you have less people that are willing to buy, how can you make those people's lives easier, basically? And also innovation will play a big role. Like, again, in any crisis environment, like we used to play all sorts of playbooks that existed for a while, from, I don't know, inbound marketing, advertising, you name it, growth loops, anything. It's time to innovate again. So I encourage anyone to be like super open and look at all industries and what's happening, and just try to reinvent the playbook. Now is the time. And I would also say that probably we're going to start a new concept of marketing, and I call it compassionate marketing. You're probably seeing examples left and right, and I'll actually have a question for the audience on this. Compassionate marketing, to me, it's if we're coming from this world where there was the brand, which is inspirational, aspirational, and so on, and the consumers, compassionate marketing is like, we're in this together, guys. And you're probably seeing lots of companies that are really lending a hand and like they're really sympathetic or empathetic with what's happening. Yeah, so we're just in this together. And I would actually want to ask this to the audience, if you can write in the chat. You've probably seen a lot of campaigns in this past few weeks, from, I don't know, food you're ordering to SaaS tools to e-commerce to whatever. If you can give an example of a campaign you hated because they were trying too much and taking advantage of the situation, and a campaign that you absolutely loved because they were practicing this compassionate marketing. So
yeah,
go ahead and write in the chat.
Because I'm going to be, I've already called out a few companies because we'll be covering this part later on. But everybody, if you can just share on the chat what's the campaigns that you thought they were trying to harm, or the campaigns that you absolutely love, please do, because it's going to be very interesting to comment on them.
Yeah, definitely big topic for all marketers right now that we're gonna come back to later for sure. You mentioned that us as marketers right now, we need to adapt our mindset to be more innovative, think outside the box, revisit things that maybe before we didn't really take into consideration. Is there an example or a couple of examples from Hold It where you saw yourself in that situation, or one of your team members, where you actually went for something really innovative that you haven't applied before?
Yeah. So let me go through all the stuff that we've done so far as examples, and kind of in chronological order. So the first thing was, of course, financial replanning. Especially in the startup world, you have a certain amount of cash flow. So first thing we did was kind of extend our runway, and we had to take some very tough decisions. And to know for how long we have to extend, we had to apply some principles in terms of what do we think will happen this year and when. So I encourage everyone to do this. Like, I really appreciated a lot our founder Javi, like starting from these principles. So he aligned all the management team around, okay, what do we believe in, and then do the replanning. So we shifted some budgets, cut some budgets, made some changes in terms of hiring and so on. And that's the first part. So the first thing that happens, and again, like in any crisis, is like becoming more efficient. It's the most important thing. So it's not growth at all costs, but it's changing how the metrics that we care about. So now the most important metric became the time to recover CAC, which we were looking at before, but that was after the actual growth, the net new MRR. so it's anything that's more efficiency over over growth at all costs, because if you are improving your efficiency throughout 2020, even if your growth slows down, at the end of it, when people are ready again to buy or whatnot, you'll be much better. So yeah, maybe you're experiencing less people coming through your funnel, but improve that funnel. Now is the time to do that a lot. Luckily for us, it was just the financial replanning and not the replanning overall, because the plans that we had for this year are still fitting all the situation. We are actually planning to work a lot on making our channels more efficient, improving the user journey, working a lot on activation and onboarding, working on our viral loops. So all these things still apply. So I encourage everyone to really think it's not about, you know, how you can pay a bit more to get a few more customers, but actually, as I said, for those fewer ones that are coming to your door now, give them the best experience. And while you improve this experience, that will last. So when people are ready to come in higher numbers to your door, you'll just be better and stronger. The second thing that happened, and of course we had to cut some advertising budgets, but at the same time we went through even stronger focus on what we're doing in advertising. So in Facebook, for example, we said, well, yeah, but in general, actually in all channels, advertisers are pulling out, which means that it's cheaper now. It's cheaper per click or per anything you want to measure. So what can you do, even if you have a lower budget now? In our case, we actually went through and we changed everything in Facebook and AdWords. So basically in Facebook, our team recreated all the campaigns. We have now things that are more fitting the time. So we are a cloud solution. It's perfect for this work from anywhere concept. We avoided anything that it's a bit too profiting from the situation. So not saying, you know, you have to work from home, it's Corona, none of this like negative stuff, but simply like it's time to work from anywhere. And we created these beautiful ads with nature and everything and presented our product, and we are seeing amazing results. Like the CPCs are less than a quarter what they used to be, the CTRs are through the roof and so on. And we did that right away. I think that was the first week of work from home focus for a few people in the team. Then in AdWords, by cutting budgets as well, it was time to look more efficiently at choosing the right keywords and again improving the ad copies and all that. So going smaller actually brings you a lot of advantages because you can control it better, you can make it better. At the same time, we had lots of ideas coming from lots of people in the team around what can we do? You know, let's offer discount, let's offer free users, let's do all sorts of things. As much as this is appreciated for, you know, people to think about all these things, we actually pushed back on most of the ideas because, again, we wanted to not be in a place where we are seen as profiting from the situation. And it took us a couple of weeks to actually come up with something. And we decided finally to go for more useful content for our audiences because they have lots of questions. So these SMBs that we are serving, we are giving them the tool and nothing changed there. We haven't done any discounts. We haven't offered anything. But at the same time, these people need information, and especially current information more than ever. So we had some brainstorming and we came up with this webinar concept where we said, well, SMBs have lots of questions around what do we do now with their employees, with all the benefits that the governments are offering now to SMBs. So there's a lot. There's like reduction in taxes. There is like all sorts of things. And we organized this webinar with some lawyers and people from banks and our founder. And we asked our customers before the webinar what kind of questions we had. Then we organized the webinar and we delivered on that. And we plan to help further with much more of this kind of content, like new content, like what's new, what changed for me specifically, and things that are very relevant for our audience. We're going to have some PR campaigns soon because, as I said, we have the pulse of SMBs in different industries, and because we have our invoicing solution, we can look on the overall what's the amount that was invoiced in February versus March? Is there a drop? Like how is it going, and by industry and so on? And that's going to be an upcoming PR campaign that we're going to have around, this is the situation, this is what's happening, is how you can compare different things.
Yeah, definitely some good ideas in there. Yeah, actually it's funny because when you go through the blogs and marketing websites and everything, you see a lot of companies coming up with new content formats, even like this webinar that you just mentioned, Idea. Wistia is having a similar format too, with the video interviews. Is there anything else apart from, so you read a lot, double down on content marketing right now, it's the right time because people have more time to consume it, right? You also...
Yeah, actually, one more thing we did was starting a new section on our blog just about the changes for SMBs in this time. So as I said, you know, different benefits from the government or stuff like that. And we have one content writer that it's dedicated to just keep updating, looking at the news and kind of remaking that content in a way that's relevant for our audience. So yes, definitely doubling down on content, and people have more time now. They are more open to, although I think this is, we need to pay attention at the trends now, because of course the first few weeks people were like, it's a change of lifestyle. So they were like, okay, give me stuff, I don't know what to do. But I think now we're at a point of inflection where we might see people receive a lot of stuff. Like now everyone is bombarding them with webinars, with content, your friends send you stuff. Like if I don't look at my phone for an hour, I probably have 100 notifications. So now it's also, you have to take into account that you have to stand out for quality, and people might give you like one shot now, they are more open, but if you blow that up, if you don't have like amazing content, forget about it, because now will be even more noise than before. And that's why I'm saying again, compassionate marketing. It's not you and I, it's us from now on.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, because like you said, there is this opportunity here now, but we are not the only ones who are thinking about, oh great, now like CPCs are low everywhere and I can launch like more campaigns, more ads or content marketing. So that's a really good advice. Now going to the probably one of the most asked questions among marketers right now, you just mentioned compassionate marketing. So here's the thing, with a lot of companies, the connection is pretty obvious because they are, let's say, they offer physical services, concrete services that actually help. If Uber offers free rides, that's that's a tangible, let's say, benefit. Or if a pharmaceutical company offers their services or donates free masks, that's a pretty obvious connection there, how they can help in situations of COVID-19. Yeah. You mentioned, or you asked the audience to give examples of good examples and bad examples. So what you see a lot is connections that make sense. And then you also see examples of where the connection does not make sense, where you're just reading, okay, like an ad copy starts with coronavirus, COVID-19, but then the actual product or service that is being promoted doesn't have to do anything really. So it's, yeah, like it's a thing. Like I see it on two levels. One, the level of actions, like what can you offer that makes sense to help the community, to help society? And two, how do you communicate it? Because many companies do it from a good place. It's coming from the right place because they're asking themselves, what can we as a company do in order to help? But then there's also the layer of communication. How do we communicate it in such a way to not come across as a company who wants to benefit on the back of the corona crisis? What are your thoughts, your views on it, your advice, your tips?
As I said, it comes back to this, we're in it together. So if in the beginning, people in companies were thinking, you know, how we could profit from this, probably by now we kind of all feel how it is. We all know what it means to work from home. We all know what it means to not go out in the evening and have to change our lifestyle. We all know all this. So just channel that energy around, you know, be empathetic. Like, what would you do to yourself in this situation? And I think it's easier than before to be empathic, if anything, because as I said, we all live it now. All the companies go through this, all the companies know how it is. So we play two roles, right? Like as an individual and as a part of a company. So my advice on this is just look in the mirror, pretty much. What would you do? What would you appreciate? And that's why I asked all of you to share examples of campaigns you loved and hated during these few weeks. One, I liked three things. I'll give some examples as well. There was, so Zoom, we're all using Zoom, most of us for free. And I was in a few calls where you just get that pop-up notification like, hey, we know this is hard. So here is like removing that limit of minutes so you can keep chatting for free. That's a nice surprise. And that's precisely it. It's the nice surprise of it in a time when you need it most. Like you probably didn't even know you have this limit. You're probably new to Zoom, or you were not using it as much before or whatever. And then just put this out there. I'm a tea fan, and there's a tea shop here in Barcelona where I buy online from. And now they were doing online tea ceremonies, and that's pretty cool as well. I've attended one. I'm not going to do it every week as they have it, but it just stuck to my mind. Like these brands, I'm going to remember them after because they were there with me in these times. Another example I really loved, and that goes back to the point of don't expect everyone to just read stuff because they stay at home. It's also about how you make them commit and what quality it is. I subscribe to a meditation module on Mind Valley just because their flow was so brilliant. So basically, you know, there was this Instagram ad that took me to a page, but then on this page, I couldn't just consume the content directly. They said, commit to a time. When would be a right time for you to go through 1 hour of this content? So you just choose like the time that's relevant for you. Okay, Saturday at 11 a.m. Great. It's on my calendar. They send me an email notification when Saturday 11 a.m. comes. And I watch it. Or although it's a pre-recorded online session, like there's nothing live, but they just made me commit, first of all. Then I go through the session and they're explaining, you know, why this woman is like really good at it and all the social proof that people in Silicon Valley that I know of and stuff like that are using it. And so it's really convincing. And then they had this demo of like a real meditation session of just 10 minutes. And it was one of those that has a psychology thing to it, which was it creates oxytocin. So of course, if you go through that, then you're more likely to buy, but you know, you just feel good. And then towards the end of the video, they were saying, just don't close this page. Now you're going to have a discount. Of course, if you close the page, the discount will remove. And the discount was 75%. After the discount, it was 250, and I still paid for it because I was like, this is damn brilliant, because this is what we need. It's not just an avalanche of information that's available anytime. And if I know that I can watch it or read it at any point, probably I won't, because like now there's like so much going on. But it's like have people commit to it and get into their lives. But once they do, better provide quality content.
In fact, one of the things I really wanted to touch base on is the fact that, of course, the first mover, I mean, we were actually pretty relevant in doing online events because we were the first Startup Brain chapter to move to online. And I think that everybody right now, 2-3 weeks into the confinement, has followed suit, not only in Startup Brain, but other associations in Barcelona, right? So we kind of like pioneered this change because we were quick to that. But we are not that relevant anymore. Now everybody else is doing it. How do you
have more competition
to stay relevant in terms of innovating, right? Because we're moving into an unknown space. We don't know how much this is going to go for. What would be your advice to stay relevant?
I actually think and hope that there will be a huge mindset change, even when we're not at home anymore. The economy is not going to rebound just the moment we can be on the streets. So we are going to face a recession, maybe even a depression. So let's be very honest. Let's not live day by day. Like you had these weeks to kind of react quickly because it was kind of unexpected. We all had to. But it's time now to think for the long term. You have to think for years from now because the mindset is changing. Most of the discussions I had with friends, colleagues, ex-colleagues, and so on was actually around how do you think people will behave from now on? Like what's new in terms of mindset, societal changes, political changes, anything. So prepare for that. Be super curious. Look at what's going on around you. Look at what's going on with you. and prepare for that. And that's why I'm saying this innovation is not about how you can profit today. The innovation, it's about understanding how the times are changing and what can you do, but in a relevant way. So this is not about tricks and gimmicks. It's about how is your space changing, pretty much. So this will be different case by case, right? Like if you're in different industries and so on, but basically think long term from now on. We passed the tipping point of like just adjust really quickly.
Yeah, and circling back to what Nasia has brought up, a really good point before that. It's like, hey, how about sort of the ethics of doing this, right? I really wanted to focus a little bit on this, is that, you know, it's very easy to give your software for free. Like, I don't know if that's something you're doing at Holdit, but a lot of companies, they're really big companies, and they're saying, hey, because there's coronavirus, here's, you know, 1 month for free. It's like, really? You got 1,000 employees? That's the best you can come up with? That's pretty selfish, right? How do you plan your strategy for not only when the economy is going to, you know, bounce, but also so that you avoid making moves that will make you look bad, right? I mean, let me rephrase this. I know this is not a really good question. It's like some of these actions are being perceived as greedy, as selfish, and opportunistic, right? I will not forget some of these campaigns. Some of these campaigns have been terrible, and I have canceled some of my memberships to companies because of this opportunism, right? How to avoid looking like that?
So I would flip it a little bit, because maybe in some cases it's worth giving something for free or not. But why would you give something for free? Or even why not? The key thing here, and what we all need to think about, is how do you build a new habit? So you have people that are off the hamster wheel. So they left their old ways of doing stuff, and now they are open. They are in this place where everyone is readjusting. And as I said, this will last for a long time. It's not just about being in the house now, but as I said, there will be mindset changes. Because we got off the hamster wheel, there's this huge opportunity now to enter people's lives, if it's relevant, by building a habit. Habits are built in, depending on who you ask, 30, 90 days. We have the time now, perfect. So what you have to think, it's around how do you build a habit in people's lives, in your customers' lives, in your users' lives, to adopt a new thing. And it's not necessarily a product, it's doing something differently with your product. So that's the question I would ask myself in any company. It's not about should we give something for free or not. It's just how can you build this habit? And as I said, in some cases, maybe it makes sense to give something for free or not. But it's how do you enter that flow? And the example I just gave you with the Mind Valley meditation app, right? Like they enter my life. And even after that example I just gave, when I was doing my first meditation session, to mark complete at the end of it and go to the second one, there was another task I had to do. Otherwise, it didn't let me to mark it complete, which said, now book 20 minutes in your calendar every day for the next 30 days. And that's brilliant. That's how we have to think.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, more like digging down a little bit deeper into this. I mean, I build software for a living, right? And I know that the cost of software doesn't really depend on the number of users. It's like that proportion is ridiculous, right? So to me, companies giving out software for free, SaaS for free right now, is kind of saying like, oh, we're giving out for free right now because we know you have no money, but we'll charge you again when you will have money, right? Yeah. So it's for me, it's fair weather marketing, right? And that brings it to the point of where is the thin line between, you know, not because if you don't, it's kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, right? If you don't do marketing because of this situation, you're not aware of it, and therefore you don't give a fuck about what's going on. You know, you're kind of like, you know, you're too tough or too cool for school, right? But if you do and you don't get it right, you're subject to, you know, the hordes of the angry mobs on the internet, right? So how do you spot this really thin line? It's really tricky. Have you found it in previous companies or in the previous, you know, the previous crisis on this one already?
For me, again, it's about this compassionate marketing, right? And I will stress it again. Yes, most marketers are not used to a crisis. So it's like you have to build a skill set overnight. So check, document yourself, read about the previous times, like spend your time on this. But my point being is maybe we got too capitalists in marketing as well, in the sense that we thought marketing is just about selling stuff. Like, I'm here to put products in people's faces and promote it, and like, this is why you should use this, and this is what it does. Forget about all that. Now it's time to, as I said, to build these habits with people, to help them, to help them not just with the product, but also content, more than ever before. And we've been doing content marketing for years now, but it's changing now. And that's why I'm saying that hold it. Luckily, this was the plan anyway, but I think it's even more relevant during these times. But I hold it, we basically double down on onboarding and activation. We double down on content. This is what we are doing. It's early to share the results, but I think that's relevant for now and for the future, because as I said, if you make people's lives better, then they will appreciate it. And then you have this engine that just works when there will be more people buying again. So yeah, it's just this, like, go back to content marketing, but in a sense that it's relevant to you, and put yourself in the shoes of the customer. We've been saying this always, but now it's for real, and I think we can feel it as well. So the customers are not anymore just numbers on a paper.
And how about, like, because we were touching base on things that have changed, right? Between pre-coronavirus right now. One of them is in fair weather marketing, as far as I understand it. Everybody's got money, startups raise money, you've got a bunch of marketers, everybody's in buying this position, like you've got this positive attitude towards acquiring things online. So basically, you solve growth, or to a certain extent, by just throwing more money into advertisement, right? At the same time, I remember there's a quote from one of the best publicists in Spain. They say, like, publicity, advertisement is when your product is not enough, right? So circling back to what you mentioned in the beginning, you said the best marketers of this era will be born professionally right now. And that, I thought, this is a really good quote, first of all. The second is, do you think they will be more focused on getting product right, user experience, and maybe even content marketing, as opposed to paid marketing? Full disclaimer, I hate it.
So as I said, I don't think any of these concepts are new. UX has been here from, I don't know, whenever Netflix was born, and content marketing since HubSpot was born. But I think now we're going to do it for real, because until now we are doing it in a capitalist way, and now it's going to be a bit more human. So I'm expecting to see a lot of changes. I'm hoping there will be a lot of changes. Yeah.
I have a question for you too, for both Nasia and Adelina. What's the distribution like in your companies? Because I'm not very familiar with Hold It, to be honest. I'm really familiar with Typeform, and because you both share this background in Typeform, I'm a superpower user of Typeform, loved it. I'm pretty sure I'm among the first 100 users ever. I think Typeform, from an outsider point of view, has really nailed it in having a really fantastic experience. And you send it to somebody, everybody's like, wow, these forms are cool, I'm just gonna use it. What's the percentage of, I'm pretty sure you do paid marketing, but if I were Typeform, I wouldn't do it, right? So what's the distribution of these channels?
You wouldn't do what?
I wouldn't do paid advertisement.
It's I'm just gonna comment quickly on that. It's funny you mentioned that. The viral effect, definitely. So our product is in a privileged position, like you mentioned, because the nature of it is for you to distribute it among people. Like, you create an online survey, an online form or something, and then you send it around to several people. And of those several people that fill it out, like in the ideal case, most of them will be impressed and also start using it and explore, like, what is this? And then them are going to be the creators and create online surveys and send it out to more users. So yes, the viral effect is there for sure, and it was one of the main initial drivers that was behind the initial growth of Typeform. But definitely at some point it's not enough. So you do want to invest in paid marketing, right? And you do want to appear at all of the stages of the journey when when people already have the intent and the need, when they're already problem and solution aware and know, like, okay, I need to solve this problem, and I need to use this kind of tool. What kind of tools are there so I can create my online survey, something, and send it out? You also want to be top of the funnel, what Adelina mentioned or touched upon earlier, that even before they know that this is the solution, okay, I have a problem. I don't know what people think about my product or about my event, whatever it is. I need to somehow like learn what they think about it. How do I do it? Aha, okay. Then like they stumble upon in a blog article where it describes like, yeah, like if you launch a survey, then you can do this, as that, and achieve this. Like paid search, Google Ads being one example, but definitely for you to cover most of the user journey, you want to invest in paid marketing to be there, to be present.
How about you, Adelina? What's the distribution?
In our case, paid marketing was actually the main channel at Hold It. And only this year we are building new channels. Some interesting ones being viral loops. So our customers, which are businesses, are doing business with other businesses that are not our customers. And that exchange of information, of invoices and other kinds of documents, they are done through our system. So that gives us the opportunity to be exposed to all these other people and get into their lives as well. This is one of the nuts we want to crack this year. And another example being resellers. So in our case, accountants are excellent because you have these independent accountants that will have that would work with a bunch of SMBs, and they would bring them to us. So this is what we're working on this year. This was our plan even before Corona. But paid advertising, it's a really good channel if you can master it, if you have like good metrics. And in our case, it makes sense because we, just looking at our LTV CAC or even our expansion, because like everything made sense. At the same time, as I said, if you're using a channel, it's probably going to be like a change of focus on what metrics you're looking at. In our case, being time to recover CAC becoming the most important.
Yeah, it's one of the things that that I've seen, and maybe going into, I don't know if Nasia, you've got any other question before commenting on the campaigns, because we've got a few examples of campaign.
Yeah, great.
That really affected us. Somebody brought, so Stefan from Romania, actually from Cluj, our chapter director there, commented on the campaign of Monday.com. I don't know if they've done anything specific for coronavirus, but I remember I was pretty pissed off at Monday.com because they were doing paid advertisement on Basecamp, advertising themselves as Basecamp killer, right? I love Basecamp, it's a great tool, but the moment when you advertise yourself as the killer or something else, it's like, first of all, you've got a lot of self-esteem because Monday is nowhere close to where Basecamp is. The second, and that touches us directly, like freaking Web Summit. So we organize an annual conference here in Barcelona for 800 people. Not really big. Fucking Web Summit, but paid advertisement for our conference. So if you look for Star Brand Conference Barcelona, you got Web Summit, and that's not cool. Google
on Google Ads, you mean, right?
On Google Ads, yeah. So Google Ads.
So they're bidding on our brand, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, Google has perpetrated this sort of system where only them is winning, because it's kind of like a rat race between companies outbidding themselves, sometimes even for your own keyword. Your company name is a keyword, right? Can you comment maybe on the ethics of this kind of mechanism or of paid marketing? How would you go about paid campaigns?
I think that was there, will be there probably. I'm not sure anything changes because of these times now in this regard. It is what it is. Honestly, no comment on this.
Yeah, I know, but maybe so since you wanted to touch base on some campaigns that the people didn't like or people like, there's one that's positive in this case. Daniel sent this one. It's from Vans, the sneakers company.
Mm-hmm.
Like all net proceedings from buying on the online store, they will go directly to our vendors and to our to the small shops that distribute our Vans. So maybe that's a good example. You want this is thinking outside of the box. It's not just giving, we'll give a few sneakers for free, right?
Yeah.
So in this regard, how can you train yourself to think outside of the box and not follow suit to what everybody else is doing, right? Where do you get, you yourself as Adelina, where do you get inspiration from?
Basically for me was a lot of paying attention to things that I probably haven't paid attention to before. So, I had my own professional focus, like on learning marketing and growth and stuff like that, or personal hobbies on nutrition and things like this. But these times I got like super curious and super open to read about economy, what's happening now. There was a crisis coming anyway, and COVID is more like a scapegoat, if anything. So what was the real thing? How is the mindset changing? As I said, talking to lots of people about what changes they are seeing. How do they think the mindset of people will remain after this? Like, what's the big change that's coming? So I'm talking to people, I'm watching documentaries, I'm basically paying attention to things that I haven't paid attention to probably in the past few years. And that just kind of opens like new connected dots pretty much. And yeah, I think again, like we are in this together, right? So examples like this webinar where we come together and we exchange like, hey, this is how I'm thinking and what I'm doing, and like, what are you guys doing and stuff like that. Just being a bit more open on this and trying to make the best of it.
And what's the companies that you look up to or draw inspiration from, right? Companies, or can be also individuals, somebody who consistently gets it right for you.
On YouTube, I have a few favorites. Like I would recommend Team Bilio, and there are a bunch of others. It's basically a big shift I made in my life a few years ago was stop paying attention to the first order thinking. Like there are lots of people that would read or watch stuff that are about how others did what. And that's not really relevant. Like I got much more to the part of like second or third order thinking. Why are they thinking like this? What kind of information did they have? What kind of mindset did they have? Where is that coming from, So pay much more attention to this, because this will be, as I said, the new playbook. We're writing it now. So yeah, you can chat with people to be like getting the first snippets, but it's written now. So what's more important than ever is this: pay attention to the second and third order thinking, like what's driving certain things.
And okay, Nasia, you want to say something?
Yeah, unless you have a follow-up question, but I wanted to name some of the examples that our attendees mentioned in the chat. So Marta, for example, is mentioning a campaign that she loved, growthmentor.com. Most of you know it probably. They offer, some of the mentors, they offer their time for free and give one-to-one sessions. So instead of charging, what does it say, 50 euros or more per hour, they're offering sessions for free. So how do you two guys see that kind of campaign? Like it's offering something for free. Àlex, you mentioned some skepticism around offering stuff for free. Like I think this is a I think it doesn't necessarily always come from this opportunist perspective, but actually with a lot of companies, it's coming from the right place, right? Like, what can I do to help in this situation? Like Adelina said, we're all in this together. Okay, my company does this. It doesn't deliver food. It doesn't work in the health sector. But hey, at least we can offer this in that context, and this could provide some value or help out somebody. This example that Marta mentioned about Growth Mentor, where basically you can train somebody in a one-to-one session for free. How do you guys see it? Good initiative, not good initiative?
If there are things that people need nowadays, I'm pro giving stuff for free. So for example, as I said, people got off the hamster wheel, so they're open to new things, or they need new things. In this case, advice, or it can be a bunch of different things. So in a sense, it's okay, because if you think about it, even when you do advertising, like you're paying money to be exposed to these people. So in this case, like giving your product for free, it's basically saying that cost, that your potential revenue for those few months would turn into the cost to acquire customers. Now it depends, as I said, if it's coming from an empathetic point of view, it depends if it's relevant and high quality for the people, and it depends if it's building a habit.
For me, I said before, most of the times you're kind of like revealing that your product is, or you're being opportunistic, right? I remember this very specific example. There's one of the biggest conferences in Spain, basically a few years ago, they were not selling enough tickets, right? And all of a sudden they decided to make it for free. That was desperation, right? So obviously then you perceive that something's not going on. They didn't communicate properly. For people who had actually paid for a ticket, that definitely sucked. So I would be 100% pro giving stuff for free. Like, we're doing these events for free because literally they cost us nothing, right? Whereas when we do our events offline, we had to pay for, AV, we had to pay for catering, we have to pay for other stuff. So definitely we need to limit that. But following up on that, basically, I think if you get those things give out for free, do it for real. Do it also for the customers you've got, because otherwise it's just a cheap marketing campaign. It's for free for new users. Yeah, thank you, but no thank you, right? What about people who are already paying? I will feel like totally like ripped off if I saw that, right? So that's
yeah. I'm gonna add another layer to it, or like another follow-up question. So there's this one aspect, like level of actions, right? You do something, you offer your product for free, and then Àlex, like you said, it's true. Some companies do it from a more opportunistic background, or to get some positive PR, to be able to label themselves as, oh, look how good we are and how much we support like people in the Corona crisis. We're so amazing. We did this initiative, or we're offering that. But also, of course, a lot of companies are doing it because it's coming from the compassionate side. So question, when you offer something for free, or you offer a discount, or whatever it is, like a benefit for your product, for your service, communicating it, yes or no? Because if you do it without a huge marketing campaign around it, like showing it in ads or everywhere, you could expect like a certain word of mouth happening from the existing users, the existing customers, and people who are benefiting from it, recommending it to other users. On the other hand, promoting it, that's what actually gets the message spread, right? And gets the information spread. While there is still the risk, what you said, Àlex, basically to come across as, you perceive those companies that they're being opportunistic. So what would you recommend to brands? Like, do good. There's this saying about do good and don't speak about it. Like, how would you go about it? Do good, don't speak about it, or do good and yes, show it everywhere?
Actually, you touched a very interesting part, right? So you have your existing customers and then you want new customers. And that was my whole point on like focus on giving them an amazing journey to those people that come through the door. And that includes your existing customers. So I would really start from there because, yeah, as Nasia said, then you have word of mouth, because the brands that are now with me in a cool way, like I would appreciate that. And I'm sharing that with people, and I will remember them and I will keep buying from them. So I would say that's why forget about this capitalist way of thinking as a marketer, which is just like more money, more people, more whatever, but focus on the journey. This is the time to improve that experience we give to people. And that might be, better landing pages that convert because they talk in a certain way, or they might be a better service, or they might be whatever it is in your case, better content and so on. But obsess over that. It's the time to not play the numbers game, but the quality game, and people will appreciate that.
For me, it's more about being coherent and consistent with your values, right? If you've always been like a company with shit values, and like you've never lived up to your values, and you've always been like shady, things like that, and now you come with a really nice initiative, I would be very skeptical about it, right? If all of a sudden now, Uber comes up with the best, like, life-changing campaign. It's like, no, dude, you're still Uber, right? Or McDonald's or whatever, right? That goes because Daniel has said, like, oh, you're mentioning big companies, so campaigns of big established companies, but would be more interested in hearing about startups. Is like, well, precisely. I think startups, from my point of view, if you're small, you don't have to jump on every occasion, like at every chance there is. Like, there's an ongoing tendency of all startups trying to jump on every social movement or every kind of initiative there is, and trying to market the shit out of it, which I think might be good. But if everybody's doing it, you're diluting the message. And furthermore, maybe you're wasting your resources on this and not focusing on other parts of the company that deserve more, strategy, cash flow, product, things like that, right? So my advice to small companies, I run a small company, right? It's like, why I think precisely we're really stable is because we just don't jump on, we don't try to take advantage of every situation that's out there, every movement, every international day of remote work, whatever, right? It's like International Day of Friends of Strawberries. Like, there are companies who just waste a lot of money into that, right? So that's why I think it would be more relevant for me to kind of like keep the companies afloat, really focus on what matters, like on essential, not on nice to haves in this.
So as I said, at Holded, we were and we are focusing on onboarding and activation and things like that, like just giving people a better experience. So opportunities are there, but yeah, it's a risky movement, and all these campaigns can lead to good things or not. Depends again on like what company you are, from which place it's coming, what kind of values and so on. So I would say be open, but most importantly, just drop the old playbooks. Like, this is the time to reinvent the playbooks.
Great. Let's jump into, like, there's 4 or 5 questions from the audience. We're going to be here for some more minutes, but let's just wrap up with a few quick questions from the audience. The first one from Zineb, I don't know if I pronounced your name right. I hope you appreciate my effort. Is that you at Holded, you've got a few ads running with sign up and subscribe CTAs. Are the CTRs up on those two? Like, are companies or you yourself are shifting towards more, product awareness instead of conversion? I think are people not really in buying mode nowadays? So what have you?
No, we still focus on conversion. If we break down the metrics, we can see that, of course, there are less people searching for these tools, and there is a bit of drop in conversion. So it's like it stacks up. But as I said, in our case, we're still growing. So what we decided was to focus on those people that are still coming through the door and giving them a better experience. But we didn't just change overnight all our plans. It's just the same. It's just financially we took into account all this new data that we had and checking, okay, less people searching, less people converting, by how much, what do we think is going to happen next, and stuff like that. But the way we do marketing, it's the core of it hasn't shifted the goals.
How is your growth team built? Skills and people, and what's the minimum set of people and skills in a growth team? From Stefan from Cluj.
So I have 3 teams in the growth team, and they're quite cross-functional. So we split it by the user journey. And so we have a demand generation team that it's responsible to make to bring people in and get them to the value. And then there's a customer lifecycle team that takes care of people from getting the initial value to stay with us and get more and more value. And there is a team focused on resellers. But these teams are cross-functional, and I think that's the way forward, because I don't think dividing departments by skill set is enough in this day and age in startups. And I'm quite keen on this cross-functional work. So, if you have a marketing department, a sales department, a product department, you depend on each other. So what ends up happening, you'll have a lot of politics, a lot of time spent on negotiating and stuff like that. So in our case, we're trying to be more efficient internally as well. And whereas we have about 60 people overall in the company right now. So we're also going through a bit of change as well in terms of the growth pains of changing the team size, because we hired quite a few people over the last few months. So it's like creating mix and everything. But basically what we try to do is like stay efficient, because the way you do things internally will reflect externally as well. And the best advantage you have as a startup.
Down your marketing budget between the different growth channels. That is from our friend from Barcelona, Danny.
As I said, in our case, paid marketing was the main channel, and we had plans to build new channels and make this channel more efficiently. So I'm not sure I would put the question in terms of where the money is, but more where the effort is. So basically, we took a look at like what's going on really well in our business and what can be improved and what are the biggest growth levers. And we made a plan for the year that we split it in focus areas. So we said, what is the main thing we want to solve, achieve, improve, but without going into solutions? And these are periods of times of 4 months each. So now we're going through them one by one. So because I also believe that to really fix something, it's better for the entire company to focus on it. So that's why we have these big focus goals, if you will. And yeah, that's how we try to do it. So instead of having different teams, like, of course, they have different things to take into account, but we're all going in the same direction.
And how about the top 5 tools you use and why? What do they bring in overall, added to your value of growth?
Nowadays, probably Zoom. We were not using Zoom before. Slack, we were using Slack before as well. And then, yeah, all sorts of different tools for different functions, right? So we have Intercom for the support we give to our customers and so on. As I said, our tech stack hasn't really changed. Maybe except for Zoom.
Tools, this is not a question, just a statement, I think. This from Stefan is tools for growth purposes. Maybe it's a question.
I think it is a question.
It is a question, but he's clearly in a rush. He's clearly in a rush. It's like, I don't have time to type, the interrogation, the question mark. No, I think that
here's my answer. Excel.
Zoom and Slack, and they are more like communication channels, but like tools specific for growth. Like, I don't know, like some SEO stuff, like.
For me, growth is about combining being data-driven and also innovation. So kind of like knowing what's your DNA of the company and where to double down, and trying to combine that. So you have to look at different things that are happening in the company and like take some decisions around where it's best to focus on and why. And that's why I said Excel, because basically it's like putting everything together and getting to those good decisions.
Nasia, is there something else on your plate? Because I've got only maybe the last 2 signature questions from Star Brian to kind of like wrap up. But this is something else you wanted to comment on.
No, from my side, no. I had a follow-up question on one of the questions from the audience, but I forgot it. If I remember it, I'll let you know. But other than that, no.
Great. Then maybe let's face the 2 most complicated questions of this interview. Adelina, are you ready for this?
Bring it on.
First one is, what's the most expensive fuck up you've ever done, professionally speaking? And if you can't quantify it, better.
Thinking that because I had some experience, I just got it and I can do it again without taking into account that it's different context. Yeah, we had some campaign at some point promoting a service that I was promoting in a previous company, and I thought that it's a no-brainer, but it wasn't. So the dynamic was very different. So yeah, never think you got it, pretty much.
Yeah,
and that costed a few digits in euros.
How many digits? Because a few digits can be 3. It's not a lot. Can you?
Close to 6.
close to 6 digits. Okay, that's a pretty expensive one. It's it's an expensive learning, right? And the last one is at StarBrand, we've been asking this question for well over 5 years now, right? We always get the best answers, but it's a pretty tricky one. As everybody has got a useless superpower, okay? That's something you do exceptionally well, okay? But it's fucking useless. Like, what do I know this for, right? I'll give you an example. One of my partners in MarsBased, my company, his useless superpower is he always chooses really stupid textures for the pies and charts in company reports. He's really skilled at that, but sometimes he uses like a pizza texture on a financial charts. Why not? What's yours?
That's a very tough question.
It's really tough. It's really tough. We've been asking tough questions though.
Buying stuff. I'm very good at buying stuff. I had to stop myself.
But is it like compulsive buying or? Is there
no,
something
I'm just so I'm an early adopter and I'm a tech lover. So like whatever comes out or whatever, I just need to have it and have an itch for it. And I don't think that ever brought me like much benefit in my life.
Did you also buy an Amazon Alexa or something like that and still sits there in a corner?
Yeah, I mean more things like, the latest smartwatch or the latest pen that records your notes or like stuff like that. So more on the geeky side. But these are things that I'm just playing with and then dropping. So
Kind of like when you got the reward, you're no longer interested in it. All right, then I think we can wrap it up here. Thank you very, very, very much to not only you, to everybody who attended this. Thank you to all the participants. Thank you, Nasia, mulțumesc, Adelina. It's been really interesting. I've been taking notes. I've been taking a lot of notes, so definitely we'll follow up on this. It's been really interesting. Hope the best for Hold It as well. And it's some companies, SaaS, as I mentioned in the beginning when I opened up, is like.
I hope the best for our customers, because as I said, SMBs will go through some ruffled feathers now. So let's see.
We don't know
how it goes.
what we're navigating through. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Right.
See you.
Thank you, everyone.
On Tuesday.
And go write the next marketing playbook, compassionate marketing.
That's a good one. Thank you for bringing values into the conversation, because marketing is sometimes very, very cold, right? And very robotic. So thank you very much. Good evening, everybody.
Thank you, Adelina. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.